Pumpkin spice is overrated.
I spilled lipstick in your Valentino bag.
Oh, you spilled lipstick in my Valentino white bag!
Notice anything different? I took down my measurements. They are distracting. I don't have my microphone either because I'm someone that likes to talk with my hands, and the microphone was kind of an obstacle in hand gestures, so I decided to no longer use it.
But the real reason is because I was too lazy to hold it.
So the mock-up for this project is already done, and if you're sitting there wondering how this got here, no, it is not magic, and how dare you say that word in my presence. This was the first part of sewing a fried chicken sweatsuit, and I highly suggest you go watch the first part, and then you won't be so... Why can't you just speak regular words? And then you won't be so confused as to why this is here. Why? Oh, so much dust just came. Why is there so much dust? So the mock-up was done, and now it's time to move on to the next challenge, which was finding the fabric. But before we get into that, my mom told me to go water the plants, So my mom told me to water the plants only for me to realize that she meant the plants inside the house and not the ones outside the house. But while I'm out here, I'm just going to let you guys know that I absolutely, this is a pretty angle by the way, I absolutely hate the cold. Words cannot describe how much I despise the cold. You may be celebrating with your sweater and your lattes and your pumpkin spice whatevers. I'm waiting for April to come around and not be cold anymore. I hate this. I'm going back inside. Making the mock-up of the sweatsuit was easy. However, finding a fabric that matched the design that I had drawn for this outfit would not be so easy. I scoured the internet, and by scoured, I mean I just typed in fried chicken fabric into the search box and see what came up. Not a lot of results came up because I guess the idea of having fried chicken on a fabric isn't something that's common, which I guess it wouldn't be. I don't know who would want fried chicken fabric. I mean, I would want it because I'm making this, but yeah. So I went to Google, typed in fried chicken fabric, failed to spell fried correctly, went to images, and just scrolled and scrolled and scrolled and scrolled and scrolled. There was a lot of images of actual fried chicken, and I almost bought fried chicken, but I resisted and kept scrolling and scrolling. Oh yeah, and scrolling. But then I saw an image that fit the closest to the fabric that I wanted. I clicked on it, and it took me to a website called Spoonflower. I clicked on the icon again, and it was called an Itty Bitty Fried Chicken Fabric by Hannah Fate. And this fabric was the closest thing that I could find that would fit the design. Hey, that rhymed. Did that rhyme? Does find and design rhyme? It sounds like it rhymes. I think it rhymes. So I ordered 5 yards of that fabric, waited about a week until finally it arrived, and it's so soft. I'm so happy. I'm so overly happy for whatever reason that this fabric exists. This fabric exists, and I'm so happy that it does. Oh my goodness. My least favorite part of making a garment is the pinning, marking, and cutting process, because pinning takes forever, and the marking process makes me nervous because it makes me feel like I miss a marking, and sometimes I do, and then I don't realize it until I start sewing the garment. My hoodie's making me hot. By the time I realize I missed a marking, I'm too far into the garment to go back and then put that marking in the spot where it's supposed to be. So I end up having to continue and just estimate where the pattern, or rather where the fabric is supposed to match up with another seam. And I just have to keep going. Anyways, the pinning, marking, and cutting process. In the last part, I did have to make some changes to the cropped hoodie because the hoodie was too high, and if I lift my arms above my head, you would see my boobs. So I have to make the crop of the sweater, not the sweater, I have to make the crop of the top, the crop of the hoodie Why is it so difficult for me to say a simple sentence? The crop that is on the hoodie needs to be longer. Also, I didn't realize this while making the mock-up, but these pants have belt loops and a zipper. Now, I don't know how many sweatsuits have those. I'll tell you how many. None. So I won't be putting belt loops or a zipper because sweatsuits and sweatpants don't have those things. So after measuring how much I need to add to the sweatshirt, I need to add 5 inches to the top so that it's not so short. I'm someone that likes food to the point where it almost gives me type 2 diabetes, but that's a story for a different day. But there's also foods that I feel like I should like, but I don't like for some reason. And I'm just there like, eh. Now there are foods, obviously there are foods that I like because you have to like something. I like pizza, I like sushi, I like burgers, I really like sushi. Actually, fun story about how I came to like sushi. In the beginning, I was actually really afraid of sushi. Hi, Max. In the beginning, I was very afraid of sushi because I thought I would get a parasite from eating raw fish, which you can. It's very possible to get a parasite from eating something that's not prepared well. And I think it was either Animal Planet or Discovery, but I'm pretty sure it was Animal Planet, where there was this show called Monsters Inside of Me, and it was about people who would tell their experiences about how they had a parasite living inside their bodies. And most of the time they got parasites from eating foods that were either not prepared well, or it was raw but wasn't in a safe environment, and therefore they became infected with a parasite, or they just killed an animal that had a parasite in it. And that person would end up eating that food, and they would end up having that parasite. So because of that show, I was deathly afraid of eating raw fish, sushi, or just anything that came at a different temperature, like red meats like burgers and steaks. I would only eat my burgers and my steaks well done because I was that afraid of getting a parasite. But then it was actually my mom that convinced me to try sushi because there's a restaurant that had opened up, it's this way actually, that had opened up down the street from our house. It was a fine dining sushi place called Wabi Sabi, and both my mom and our server convinced me to try sushi, and now I have an unhealthy obsession with sushi. And my mom regrets it because now I want sushi all the time, and sushi, depending on where you go, is expensive. So joke's on her, because I guess it backfired. I don't really know what it backfired from, but it did. But then there are foods that I feel like I should like but don't. For example, lasagna. Now when I say that, I don't mean it in a way that I feel that lasagna tastes gross or anything, because I don't think it does. But I think it's a boring dish to eat. I remember eating it a lot as a kid, and I remember just feeling underwhelmed and just overall disappointed, because I feel like lasagna is an overrated dish that people hype up all the time. I mean, I don't know who's hyping up lasagna, but I feel like lasagna is a food that is just shoved in your face as like one of the best Italian dishes that you can eat. And to me, it's just really, really boring. Like I want to enjoy eating my food, and whenever I ate lasagna, I wasn't having any fun. So that's my hot take on lasagna. Do with that information what you will. Just don't cancel me. Spaghetti and meatballs is another one. I should like spaghetti and meatballs because, again, it has 2 out of 3 main ingredients that I love to consume: carbs and meat. I mean, you could put cheese on meat on a spaghetti and meatballs, but not. I don't think traditionally you put cheese on spaghetti and meatballs. But yeah, spaghetti and meatballs. I also think it's a boring dish to eat, and I also think it's an overrated dish that, once again, people hype up for no reason. I should like that food, but I don't. I also find it very boring to eat. I'm stepping on a lot of toes. Grilled cheese sandwiches. At this point, I'm just attacking people's childhood dreams at this moment. Their childhood foods that they ate a lot as kids. And it has two of my favorite things, once again, cheese and carbs. Bread and cheese. The two things that I love in life. And yet for some reason, and I can't explain why, I don't like eating grilled cheese. Again, when I say that, I don't mean it in a way that grilled cheese tastes gross. I just think it's another overrated dish that is underwhelming. And also, I have a few gripes with grilled cheese. There are so many people that like grilled cheese and they like add things to it, and they're like, or they'll say something like, yeah, I like grilled cheese. I like to put it with lettuce, tomato, and a little bit of bacon, but not too much. It's like, well, then that's not a grilled cheese anymore. You just made a BLT. Like my mom, she'll add like, Mom, what do you add to your grilled cheese sandwiches? She adds bacon and tomato to her grilled cheese sandwiches. At that point, it's not a grilled cheese anymore. You just made a sandwich. And there's so many like restaurants, like I think Sonic or something has like a grilled cheese burger. I don't know if they still have it or if that was just limited time, but they advertised a sandwich or a burger that was grilled cheese. And instead of it being like burger buns, it was like toasted slices of bread. And they said the new grilled cheese Sonic burger. And it's like, that's not a grilled cheese. That's just a burger with 2 slices of bread. The definition of a grilled cheese is any bread of your choosing and any cheese of your choosing, put them together, grill them, that's a grilled cheese. But if you're like, yeah, I like to add avocado and some lettuce and maybe a little bit of onion and sometimes a sprinkle of egg or whatever, that's not a grilled cheese sandwich. The identity of a grilled cheese has been lost at that point. If you add anything else other than maybe some seasoning, sure, you may add some onions and maybe a little bit of other things, but the moment you start adding like meat and tomatoes and lettuce, you just made a regular sandwich. The identity of a grilled cheese has been lost. So, there. I also feel like I should like onion rings, but for some reason I don't. I don't have anything bad to say about onion rings. I just disappointed in myself that I don't like onion rings as much as I should.
So, slight dilemma. I run out of fabric space. And I have all this left over. So, I'm going to have to go back and order like 1 or 2 more yards of fabric.
So update, I actually didn't need those 2 yards of fabric that I just ordered because I managed to fit everything on the 5 yards that I already had. So now I've spent more money on 2 yards of fabric that I don't need. Well, actually, it's not a whole... It's actually not a bad thing because I could technically use that 2 yards of fabric just in case I make a mistake and need to cut something out all over again. So it's not a complete waste, but I doubt I'll mess up because I'm perfect at everything. Also, please ignore the tomfoolery that's happening on my face right now. I'm experimenting words. Why can't I speak proper words? Experimenting with different colors of eyeshadow, and this happened. And also my eyeliner doesn't match, if you can even see it. So don't look at it. I first got into sewing back in high school because my school offered a sewing class as an elective, and back then I was going through a steampunk phase. If you don't know what steampunk is, look it up, but that was the attire that I was obsessed with at the time, and I wanted to wear that for the rest of my life. So me and my mom would go shopping for steampunk attire that included corsets,
goggles, gloves, shoes, and shirts that look like a pirate would wear them. But eventually my mom was like, yeah, I'm not buying you that stuff anymore. The stuff that you have is enough. And in my head, it was not enough because I wanted to redesign my entire wardrobe into that steampunk aesthetic. So in retaliation, I guess, I was like, fine, Mom, if you're not gonna buy me this stuff, I'll just make it myself. And as you can see, I am fulfilling my dreams by making a fried chicken sweatsuit. I should stop calling it a sweatsuit because this material is not the same material that's used to make sweatsuits. This is a fabric called minky. I've never heard of that fabric, but it's like a velvety kind of texture. It has like a velvety feel to it, and that's not the type of fabric that you use to make sweatsuits. So I should stop calling it a sweatsuit. I'm just gonna call it, from this point on, it's gonna be called a fried chicken two-piece. That's the name of this video now. I'm making a fried chicken two-piece. So here's the finished top. Actually, it's not finished just yet. I have to go back and cut a few inches off the top so that could be an actual crop top because it came out a little too long, which is fine. It's better to have more fabric than less fabric. So I'm gonna go back, cut a few inches off, and then hem it, and then this top will be finished. I also bought some fabric to make the cuffs a different color because I didn't like the idea of the cuffs being the same fabric as the rest of the suit. But then I came to the realization that that's a dumb idea. So instead I used this fabric for the lining of my hoodie and just kept the cuffs the same fabric. Just want to throw that information that wasn't needed in there.
Nothing exciting happened with the pants. I mean, it did get stuck in my sewing machine like 2 times, but other than that, nothing happened. The only thing I did was that I added an elastic band into the waistband of the pants so I could fit around my waist. I also didn't add a zipper because, like I said in the beginning, sweatsuits don't have zippers, even though this really isn't a sweatsuit anymore, but it didn't make sense for it to have a zipper. And I didn't add belt loops because, again, sweatsuits don't have belt loops.